Hey everybody, so far we have 4 differentiated characters. They're able to be controlled by all sorts of different uh, controllers that we have out here. We're able to move everybody around, and that's actually pretty fun for us right now. So we need to add some more pieces in here. Obviously, we need to add in something that will allow us to come over here and get hurt. Right now we got the points working, right? But we don't have this damage thing working right here. So we want to get that working for us in a capacity where it's not just the print string up here. Okay. So first thing we're going to want to do is open up a few things. Some of those pieces are going to be already up here at the top of the screen. We're going to need our player card. Then we're going to need our, back in the couch co-op space, we're going to need our game mode right here. And then we're also going to need our third person character, which is our parent class for these other meshes that we're building, these other characters. So we'll need to go ahead and have those up. Okay, so first thing let's work backwards. So let's work where we're going to start off with our code. That's going to be in our player card right up here. And for those of you who aren't quite sure where we're at, we're looking at the player card, the individual ones that are for each of our players. So what we're going to do is go into our graph right here. We're going to make a new piece it's going to be working on our health. Basically, it's the only thing that's going to be looking at it. Right now, if we kind of take a look at this is what kicks off whenever we hit start on our controller and a character spawns in. All these things start to run through. We get a player state reference. We start to run through this create event right here. And that made this custom event right here, point update. Now we're doing something kind of similar with the health. A lot of times the health changes whenever you move to a new level. It'll either fill up or it might, recover some as they move to a new level. But if you needed to maintain that same state as we're going through that, you can use the same player state kind of setup like what we have right here. For points update, you could do something similar with the health, but I wanted to show you something a little bit different as far as how to handle this, so you can handle health or any other options for your characters in a bit of a different way. So first off, we're going to be doing a custom event here, and we're going to just right click in the space, do custom event, and we're going to call this player health change. Yeah, player change health. Then that all sounds about the same. The reason we're going to use this is because we may change the health positive or negative. It can go either way. So we want it to be able to work both sides of that. We're going to need some inputs on this. So we're highlight player change health, and over here we have an inputs spot. If I just bring this up right here, you can see there's an inputs option for us. Hit the plus, and the first one's going to be our current health. That's going to be the health of our player character, and for that one, we need it to be a float because our progress bar is handled in decimal place. So we're going to set that as a float. Next one we're going to do is the player index, so we know which one to apply it to. Okay, and our player index is going to be an integer because it is just handled in whole numbers. Okay, so we just compile that. We have those 2 pins here that we can start using with our health bar. Now, next thing I'm going to do is grab that health bar over here inside of our variables, drag that in, and we're going to set percent. Okay, and we want to make sure we get the function one right here. Good stuff. Go ahead and hook up the execution pin. We've already got our target. We may use that player index a little bit later on, so this will be good for us to have. The current health will pop right into this space. Okay, so the next thing we probably want to do is go over to our game mode, and here we're going to set up something similar to what we have right here with our quest spawn. We're going to be running a setup that's handling all the different HUD differentiation for our health. So to do that, we're going to start off with a custom event. So we're going to do custom event. We're going to call it player change health, same thing. So we can keep everything straight. From here, just like we did over here on the spawn where we're spawning in the different meshes, we're going to use a switch on int, so we can use the player index for that one. And on this one, we're going to do something similar like we did in the player card. We need to add in some inputs on that one. So I'm going to go over here. We have our inputs and our details here. Same thing we did with our player card. We're going to do current health. And that's going to be a float. And we're also going to do player index. It's always good to have that at hand in case you need it. And that's going to be our integer. Cool. All right, so we got all this. And it's going to be very helpful here because we're going to affect certain player cards on the HUD, the overall HUD, the one that actually places the player cards in different spaces around the screen. So first off, we're going to do switch on int. So we can start adding in the different player indexes. Okay, we're just adding in a pin here for each of those. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, which will be our player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4. From here, we're going to run our player index into this. Then we're going to get our HUD ref that's right here, over here in our variables. And we're going to get the different player cards from that HUD ref. So we're going to do player card 1. You can see all the different player cards right here. We're going to specify which one we're going to be going into. And we're going to use the player card change health, or player change health, sorry. There we go. Node to feed this into the player index. Let's see. Card 1. Oh, that's our target. Okay, let's see here. I think what I may want to do is pull off of this and do player change health. Okay, there we go. Not sure why it wasn't wanting to take that, but let's just pull straight off of that and we should get what we want. Running that into 0, so that's player 1's card. And as far as player index, I'll run that into here, and current health goes into there. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the other 4. And let's see, I'm just going to highlight highlight that, and I'm going to copy it a couple times just so we have it ready to go. And I'm just doing Control D because that copy and paste all in one shot. And from here, off the HUD ref, we're going to get player card 2, and then we're going to get player card 3. These are all the names of the player cards that we have in the overall HUD. Card 4. Here we go. So we can run this. Let's see if it's still going to give us a bit of an issue here. Nope, this one will play ball with us. Okay, hook that up. We're going to put the current health into that one, and we're going to run the player index over there. I kind of think we may not have to have it, but it may be something we'll want to have a little bit later on. Okay, player 2. Index to player 3, actually. So we'll run this into here. Current health and player index. Okay. I mean, player index is helpful for the switch for sure. From here, it may not be as much, but we've got it, so let's go ahead and use it. Go ahead and run this player 4 card into the target. Last one, index 3, put player 4. And then we're going to run the current health down here. Whoa, it's all over the place. There we go. Let me zoom out a little bit. That'll probably make things a little easier. And then our player index will go in there as well. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of pull this forward. I like to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. Let's see if this helps. Kind of spreading out some of those wires. I tried to do that over here as well, so it's a little easier to follow where everything's going. Yeah, I think that'll work. We got our player change on health, which is feeding through our switch, so it knows which player card to feed that to. And we're getting our health. We're passing our index. We may not need it, as I said, but we're passing it over. And we've got all of our execution pins set, so I think we're in good shape. Okay, so that's on our game mode. We've taken care of those two so far. So let's go ahead and save everything. Now we have our VP third person character. Let's go over to the event graph, and a few things just to kind of make a lot of our lives a little bit easier. If you haven't already found this, if you go up here to the very top, you'll notice there are some functions. There's one for aim, there's one for move. Now, this one for move, I would recommend going in and replacing the get control rotation, some of these other nodes that were in here. I think there was just the forward vector and the right vector, and they were pulling from some other nodes here. If you get rid of those and replace it with a make rotator on those and feed that into get right vector, what that's going to do is it's going to remove the right stick from controlling your character for the time being, and then we can go back in and add them in later. We don't necessarily want to completely get rid of them, but while you're kind of prototyping right now, it might be helpful for you. So just go ahead and set these up that way. Another thing we're going to need is we're going to go back to our event graph right here. We're going to need a few references on our character. So the first one we're going to do is we need to make a reference to the index for our player. So we can get that pretty easily if we go right here. Let's see, we're going to start off, we need to get a reference to self. So get self, there we go. And then from here, we're going to build up to player state. So we're going to get player state. Cool. All right, I'm going to smooth this over. And then from the player state, which we actually have right here, so I might be able to pull it from there, but I've already got it. It's fine. Not a big deal. We're going to get our player controller. And we have get our player controller. Well, we're going to do it again. It's not a big deal. Get player controller. Okay. Because this is targeting the pawn. This is targeting our player state. And then we're going to, whoop, let me pull that back down. Then we're going to get local player ID, controller ID. And from this, we can get our index. Okay. This is basically our index is our controller ID. So we're going to promote this to a variable. We're going to call it player index. I'm going to run everything together. There we go. And you'll see this showing up as an integer because that's what the index is. That's what the controller ID is. I'm going to go ahead and tie these together. We're going to need one more thing. We're going to need a game mode reference. So for that one, we're just going to cast to the game mode. So we'll do cast to GM underscore CC. It's going to need an object reference there for us. So we're going to pull off of that and just get game mode will work. It's fine. And then we're going to create a reference right here. We're going to right click on that, promote to variable. And let's just call it game mode ref down here. So this is as GMCC. We're going to go down here to our variables. I'm going to change it out for game mode ref. So I know it's a reference to the game mode. Okay, so with those things, we should make our lives a little bit easier. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull back. And I've got this cluster of things. When we touch something over here, it's checking the game mode. Here's the one for the BPI points. Here's for adjust health. So we're just going to follow this one right here. Adjust health. We're actually changing the health right here, going through the clamp, and then we're setting the health. I want to move this print string out just a little bit there. And what we need to do at this point is grab our game mode reference. There we go. And we're going to call player change health from our game mode. Run that into here. We'll run our health into current, and then our player index, we just grab that. So we'll get player index, run that into player index, and then we'll keep the print string just for now. So make sure everything's working the way we want it to. As far as third person, that's really the big piece that changes things, but you do have to go over here and get these references as soon as event begin play kicks off. So go ahead and hit compile, and let's try this thing out. I'm going to go ahead and restart my controllers, and let's see if this thing's going to work for us. Okay, so I've got my yellow guy right here, and we're going to go over here, grab a couple coins. Oh, yep, looks like the health bar is responding to that damage. Okay, and then let's go back over here. I'm going to go grab some health. All right, we filled up. Let me go ahead and start another one here. All right, here's my green guy. I'm going to get a couple coins myself. I'm going to go get hurt. Okay, and notice it does not affect my yellow character. And let's see, we don't have anything that totally kills us yet. Our health won't go below 0, but we don't have our respawn and everything like that working yet. So we can go back over here and recharge our health. Everything goes back up. Bring a new character in. They can get hurt. They can gather points, and everything works just fine. Okay. All right, y'all. So that takes care of our health HUD.